Welcome back. This week I am speaking to Samantha Williams. She is the founder of BookLove, which is a travelling book carnival that provides children with inclusive reading materials. Hi Samantha, how are you doing?
Hi, I'm good, thank you. How are you? Thank you for inviting me, Tara. It's very kind of you.
Oh, good. Thank you. Welcome, welcome. I was wondering if you could tell me a little bit about what BookLove is.
So BookLove is a multicultural travel and book carnival, and what I do essentially is go around the country into different spaces, schools, libraries, markets, open air markets, fruit and veg markets, with a carnival of books. And the books are there to promote and celebrate cultural diversity. So I handpick books, I curate books from around the world that reflect the cultural diversity of the communities that we live in, both by faith, ethnicity, language. So we do a lot of bilingual books and multicultural books for both adult, children, young adult, and also flags and all kinds of amazing paraphernalia that, you know, highlights how multicultural and beautiful the world is. Yeah, and we're trying to encourage conversations as well. We really want to just talk about some of these issues around lack of cultural representation across books and across media in general and in the classroom.
Absolutely. And I was wondering if there was anything specific that inspired you to found BookLove.
I've always been really passionate about the world that we live in, and particularly about the Caribbean African experience. I'm dual heritage. I grew up in the Caribbean. I went to school there. And I've always worked predominantly in very kind of white elitist spaces. And as a creative, I often felt that I wasn't necessarily able to really kind of scream and shout about my wonderful background. I felt that I wasn't really allowed to express that duality. It kind of came from that place really of wanting to show off a little bit about Caribbean culture, about Barbados, about Africa, and all the wonderful stories and art and politics and writing and just content generally that I felt was being overlooked. And when my children started going to school and sort of moving in education circles, I started to feel that some of those issues were coming back to the fore. And I just felt like I was constantly wrestling with this relationship between my identity and being allowed to express that. And I knew that I wasn't alone, that was like a universal feeling for a lot of people of colour who felt that they wanted to express their identity. And books was the way that I was able to really unleash that sort of cultural vibrancy through the books. I thought books were a really good and educational and easy, tangible way to do that.
I think especially as one of the first things we really have as a child is kind of books and bedtime stories and things. So important. And I was wondering what the response has been like. I know you've been doing this for a while, but what is it like when you see a child pick up a book and they see themselves reflected in that book, or even for the adults, because I think a generation above probably wouldn't have had access to that at all. That must be really lovely to see.
Yeah, I mean, the whole experience has been pretty life-changing, to be honest. There are a lot of kind of things that you're navigating when you're starting a business, and especially when you're having to balance your activism with making money. So it's a really interesting kind of dichotomy that I'm always sort of exploring. But so that's like the serious bit, and then the beautiful bit is the results and the rewards of sourcing these books and going into spaces where perhaps people aren't necessarily seeing these books because they are either not marketed at certain communities, or the books just aren't getting out there, or they're not in shops. Merchandisers and perhaps some of the big, more well-known bookshops on the high street aren't necessarily pushing them. So you kind of drill down and you you find the books after the long process of sorting the business, sorting the children, finding the books, bringing the books, and then doing the events and finding the children and the families and the customers and the community. When they see the books, it's a very rewarding and fulfilling experience, and all the hard work that comes before that, you almost forget about it. And it's that moment when a child sees a book and with themselves on the front cover or inside, and the mother or the father or the grandparent is Asian or black or is wearing a turban or has dreadlocks, and they see themselves represented in the book. There is absolutely nothing more beautiful, because it doesn't happen very much. It's like finding your soulmate, you know, when you find the book that represents you, it's that feeling of like finding your soulmate, and you fall in love with that book and that moment. It's completeness, and it's a really beautiful thing. I can't express it enough, actually. Finding a book that speaks to you is really powerful.
It must make all that hard work worthwhile, because you are a small business, especially during this climate. I was wondering kind of, how are you holding up? It's so tricky with the pandemic and everything. How's things for you?
Well, no 2 hours are the same. Let's just say that. We're either, well, I say we, it's me. Things are changing rapidly all the time. I was not an online bookseller really pre-COVID lockdown. I was more of an old-fashioned analog bookseller. I preferred to move away from the online relationship with books, because I felt that space was already dominated by a very big online multinational bookseller, which I didn't necessarily ever feel I could compete with. So I didn't really see the point of going online. But that changed during lockdown, because all of the events and all the schools that I had been booked into had all cancelled. So instead of waiting, I just thought, right, full steam ahead. What's the other plan? Let's get this website loaded with books. So I spent pretty much every day and night from March up until May uploading books onto the website physically, taking photos, writing descriptions, getting them uploaded. And by the end of May, beginning of May, we'd had about 500 books on the website. And before COVID, we probably had about 20. Now we've moved into a different phase, I think, where online is going to be the way forward. And sadly, that's probably going to be where the bulk of my income will come now as a retailer. So I have no choice than to have to compete with the likes of the bigger online retailers. But it's been an interesting experience, because after the lockdown started to ease up a bit, then it was Black Lives Matter really kind of came to the fore after the killings of the various people in the United States, and the police brutality around the world really kind of became very relevant and very prominent in those months after the lockdown, which meant that people were then wanting to have conversations around inequality and discrimination and prejudice, and books became the tool by which people really wanted to explore racial politics. Like, books became very popular for us as a small business. So the journey over the last 6 months, your question was, how has this affected me? It's just been an unforgettable, life-changing 6 months, and I'm still recovering. It's been very exciting and traumatic and exhausting, and it's really hard to kind of make a plan, because you don't know what's going to happen next. So I'm constantly thinking on my feet and having to juggle family, children.
I just saw a little head there. Hi!
Self-isolation, children off school because of COVID, and you've got Black History Month, and it's like children at home, and you just think, it's been an interesting few months for sure.
Well, it's really great to hear that people are kind of seeking to educate themselves off the back of the Black Lives Matter protests earlier this year. And although it's been a crazy 6 months, hopefully things will even out for you, and 2021 will be a year of success and celebration. Thank you so much for chatting with me, Samantha. It's been a real joy.
That's okay. If I could just mention the website, if I may.
Absolutely, please mention away.
So please have a look at our website. We're also on Instagram, we're also on Twitter, and we have some really great events happening over the next few days and weeks to celebrate Black History Month, although for BookLove, every day is Black History Month for us. And we also have a GoFundMe page at the moment where we're raising money to give free multicultural books to schools. So all of the information about that and about the events and markets and where you can find us will be on our website, which is thisisbooklove.com.
Definitely, and I'll put all those links in the description box below if anyone wanted to check those out. Thank you so much, Samantha. All the best.
Cheers. See you later.
Bye-bye.
Bye.